Probably without a doubt, and probably is without a doubt, one of the greatest talents that there ever has been in the sport of wrestling, and always will be. I mean, you can mention your Hogans, you can mention your San Martinos, but you got to remember something. The promotions, there's people, there's some promotions that make wrestlers, and there's wrestlers that make promotions. Ric Flair was a promotion maker. Dusty Rhodes was a promotion maker. Never had the monster, great, big TV push that Hulk Hogan had, or Bruno Sammartino, or Billy Graham when they had up the TV. The New York TV is one of the strongest medias in the world. The Mid-Atlantic TV was a strong area and a strong media situation, but to become a big star just with hard sweat, hard work, nightly going out, grinding it out, and getting the fans to believe in you and the fans to follow you happens only in a place like the Mid-Atlantic area. From hard work like somebody like Nature Boy Ric Flair. Now in New York, you go up there and you go about 7, 8, 10 minutes, and the TV just blows you over. And everybody knows that you become a big star in New York real quick, but you cannot become a big star everywhere after you come out of New York. That was always the fallacy. You can make it in New York, but in Texas, you go out in them Texas 2 out of 3 falls, 1 hour time limits and 2 hour time limits. That's when you start falling on your face. So the Nature Boy was unique in his own way. And this is going to be a kind of a long story because there's no short story to Ric Flair. When the first time I saw him, he's a 300-pound kid. He looked like Curly of the Three Stooges. He visited the Headlock Ranch down there that Dusty and I owned. But you could see he was a Dusty Rhodes. He wanted to be Dusty. He emulated Dusty in every move, everything he did. Because Dusty at the time was really hot. Myself and Billy Superstar Graham and Dusty Rhodes were about as hot as it was. Actually revolutionized the business with the talking and the promos we did and our style of work. So the 2 out of 3 falls disappeared as Dusty Rhodes and Jack Mulligan and Superstar Billy Graham came on the scene, because Valentine made a comment to me one night and said, well, you're only out there about 20 minutes. I said, well, Johnny, it takes you an hour to do what I do in 20 minutes. So, you know, you do it your way, I'll do it my way, okay? Because the people keep coming, and that's the point, because we love the people. And you can never say enough about the fans. Ric Flair was a student of this game. No matter of all the things bad about him, good about him, whatever's been said about him, he was a student of this game. He loved this game. He immersed his life in this game, in this sport. That is all he ever had. That's all he ever wanted to do. That's all he's ever done was wrestle, and that's what he is. He's the purest of all forms. I was brought back into the Mid-Atlantic area after relinquishing the world titles in New York, as a matter of fact. Lance and I were the world heavyweight champions up there, which was a pretty good payroll, pretty good salary, pretty good job to leave to come back to the Mid-Atlantic area when the plane crash come on. But George Scott kept on, he kept on and persisted with the, I need you here, I need you here, I need you here. So I said, well, Lanza, I'm going to have to tell you the bad news. I'm going to leave, because I was really breaking out and doing my own thing at that set. We'd always been a team. And the thing about the Blackjacks is we were one of the greatest teams that ever lived, but we were too good. Lanza was a star, I was a star, wanting to be a star, and Heenan was a star. We had 3 stars, which don't make up a good tag team. You got to have 1 star and 1 maybe star and 1 guy wanting to be a star. We had 3 people that were capable of carrying a main event anywhere, so it just would never have worked. We were too big, and there was too much money demand from all 3 of us, so the Blackjack split up. What a shame. It was a great team, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And as far as I'm concerned, it was the greatest heel team that ever lived, but everybody's got their opinions about those ideas. My job in the Mid-Atlantic area was just to hold the fort. George Scott said, we're in bad trouble here. Valentine's gone. Timmy Woods is gone. Timmy got hurt. He soon came back, but Timmy was never the same. David Crockett was hurt real bad. What was some of the other fellows in that crash? Bobby Bruggers. Bobby Bruggers, great football player with the Miami Dolphins, broke his back, had a steel pin in his back. Great talent we never heard from ever again. And I haven't heard from him to this day, as a matter of fact. Good friend of mine. And I thought a lot of Bobby Bruggers. So all the talent, Ric Flair had been jerked out of the guts had been tore out of this thing. So he called me and Angelo Mosca, and Mosca and I came in there. For the first time in the history of Mid-Atlantic television, they blowed us over, boy. I mean, they pushed us over. We got on that TV, and we just pounded TV, pounded people 3, 4, 5 minutes, just put stuff in 5, 6 people, beat the stuffing out of them. And the people really liked us. We bought it. I was a heel at the time. I was a pretty nasty heel. I could be pretty nasty to the people, but that's what I did for a living, and that's what fed my family. And it got over real strong, and the Mid-Atlantic area just really started to blossom. And all the time, Rick was studying, and Rick was in the background, just with the little Mid-Atlantic Championship, which is a great title. And he was a TV champion, and he held that title, and he was working his way up, learning every day, The Ric Flair persona was developing every match, every day. I can remember when he bought the old Cadillac from the Tams. You guys remember the Tams? There was an old singing group out of Raleigh, Durham, black group called the Tams.
Beach group, right?
Yeah, beach group. So the Tams had this old Cadillac, and we were at this club one night, Embers, there in Raleigh, Durham, an old rock and roll club, and the Tams had their old Cadillac for sale, and Rick bought it, and it was an old 50-something Cadillac, and that was Rick's first two-tone black Cadillac, and boy, that's how it started right there. I mean, from that point on, Rick, from a 56 Cadillac, a 56 fishtail Cadillac. Actually, he had bought that Cadillac from the Tams that night there in Raleigh, and we had to ride home in that old thing. And that was the beginning of the Ric Flair persona and the Cadillacs and the black Cadillacs and things like that. And what I really didn't know at the time is Barry was like a senior in high school up there at Mecklenburg High School, and Barry was just being his driver. And when I was gone on the road, the Mid-Atlantic territory was expanding so greatly. I would be somewhere one night, and Rick was being another place. Barry was his driver, and he had Barry dressed up in these black boots and the chauffeur deal and the chauffeur hat. And Barry was one of his first drivers. That's how Barry started getting broke into the business, which is really great, having Ric Flair break my boy into the business, because God knows what went on in that Cadillac. But that's how Barry got broke into the business. And I found out about it later, because Barry had to pick somebody up at the airport, and asked him where he was going. He said, "I'll be back, Dad." And they had the Cadillac hid out from me. They didn't tell me about it. And Barry went and picked the Cadillac up, and I saw Barry downtown in his chauffeur suit with Rick in the back seat smoking cigars. There was my boy driving Ric Flair. So that's how I found out about it. So anyway, that's Barry Windham's start in the business. Not a bad start with Ric Flair. But as Rick got to going on, he got to getting better and better and better and better. And I'd done almost everything there was to do in the Mid-Atlantic area. I'd been the United States heavyweight champion. I'd been a heel for a long time. Then George Scott tried to do this great experiment, which I thought was horrible, turned me into a good guy. And the people just, I thought they bought it. I thought they really ate it up, and it was good, which I never was really a good babyface, because I was kind of a heel character, even from football all the way, because I really am a little bit of a heel in a true sense of the word. But there I was. I'd just about done everything there was to do. Ric Flair era was now coming on. So the baton was fixing to be passed. And I was getting ready to do it, hand it over to him. George says, "I believe he can handle it now. I believe he's the one let's let him take the lead. You take the second slot there, and let's just hold him up for a while and see how he does." Well, the rest is just history to be written, and that you can read about in history. Because once I moved over and let him have the slot, I mean, he took over, and he didn't need any help. He was the #1 guy and always has been. He never even looked back. And from there, he went on from the United States Heavyweight Championship. And it's funny, the split up. I mean, it was we lived next door to each other. We bought these houses together when we first came to Charlotte, and we lived 2 doors down from each other. Our families knew each other, and we owned vans together. And the true split up of the van, we owned that together. We bought that from the Chivy House out on South Boulevard there somewhere. I don't remember the name of the Chivy House. But he had his stuff in there, and I had my stuff in there. And Rick was changing. I mean, really changing. And some of the things he was doing, I really didn't care for. I'd find a lot of pantyhose mixed with my tobacco and my Red Man, and some women's drawers and stuff mixed with my workout gear. And I mean, in our little locker there, and I really didn't care for stuff like that. So it was happening. Rick was moving on, moving in a different direction entirely. And I'm not sure what direction that was, but I wasn't going to go with him. So this thing was a natural. I mean, it just become a natural, and there was a natural split up there. And I mean, when he stomped on my hat, that Willie, I had a home in Austin, Texas at the time, and I'd bought this hat at Texas Hatters down there in Austin. And Willie was there that day, and he presented me with another hat, which I never wore, a gray or tan hat. Or if I can't remember, I believe it was a tan or white hat. And I never wore them, but it was presented to me by Connie, Willie's wife, and they gave that to me. And I thought a lot of that hat. So Rick really desecrated, he really stepped over the line when he actually stomped on my hat. He just shouldn't have done that, because Willie Nelson and I were great friends, and I really cared for Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and all that bunch, being an outlaw that I was. So that just really set the thing on fire, and I just had to get to that $4,000 beautiful robe. And the rest is history, because I shredded those ostrich feathers from hither to thither, tore it completely all to pieces, and it just made him madder than a wet hen, because he was a little bit feminine about things anyway, and always has been about things like that. So it upset him. So that's the history of the Ric Flair, Jack Mulligan thing. Rick didn't want to really get in the ring and wrestle me. I mean, that's where it was coming to.